I'm doing so awesome on my own. Like, right now, I found this can of beans.
Hello everyone, and welcome to my updated review of the Devil's Madness, one of the best light bowguns in the game. This is a Deviljho weapon, so if you don't have it, you'll have to farm one of those Deviljho gems. I have a lot to say about this weapon, so let's go ahead and jump right into the attributes. Let's not waste any time. Basically, this is a rarity 7 weapon, which means you get 2 augmentation slots. You can see I took 2 affinity augmentations. You could take something like affinity and a small decoration slot, which would kind of have the same effect, as well as you could maybe take a health augmentation. Specifically, if you were to go with like a sticky ammo build, you could go with health augmentation because affinity wouldn't matter here. And Devil's Madness is currently the best sticky ammo light bowgun in the game. Although, let me say this before we get too far, the heavy bowguns are much better at sticky ammo. So if you want to know more about how to use the heavy bowguns, or if you're curious about them, I do have a top 5 heavy bowgun meta list. You can take a look at that. I'll leave a link in the comment section in the description. But yeah, moving on with Devil's Madness, if you wanted to do a sticky build, instead of like affinity or a small decoration slot, you could go with like double health regen and then go sticky. But in our case, I mostly only use Devil's Madness when I'm using spread ammo, so I go double affinity increase, right? Now the thing that really makes Devil's Madness really stand out is the high attack value of 299. That's higher than any other light bowgun in the game. And then it's supposed to be balanced out by its negative affinity, but you can see after I've used 2 affinity increase augmentations, it's only negative affinity of 10%, which is very manageable. It has high deviation. You know, as usual, my commentary on the deviation is that it doesn't really affect anything. Oh, you'll also notice it doesn't have any decoration slots. That actually does matter. You know, light bowguns that hold multiple large decoration slots that's a good thing for them. But in this case, with Devil's Madness very high raw, it's very hard to mimic a weapon that has very high raw damage. See, like you can build certain skills like resentment, peak performance, maybe the attack boost skill, but it's hard to get that attack value so high. And that's how Devil's Madness is really standing out, is that really high raw damage. Custom mods here, you'll see I went with double recoil suppressor and close range up. Don't pay too much attention to that. That's the setup for using like the spread ammo, but we're going to be looking at 2 other custom mod setups because we're going to be using this gun for other things like, well, specifically for sticky ammo and for slice ammo. Okay, so when we get to that, I'll talk about it then. Let's move on to talking about the ammo types. Alright, so starting off, you can see that this gun comes with level 3 pierce and level 3 normal ammo. We're not really interested in any of those. That's because there are other light bowguns that do a better job. In particular, the Styx light bowgun does a better job with piercing, and the Tareth Blitz shots, as well as the Karma and I believe the Shell Ruin, all do better with normal ammo. So you're not really interested in those 2 ammo types. We're mostly just interested in the spread ammo. And that's because this gun does it better than the other light bowguns. It just gets better recoil. And that's really important for the spread ammo, right? Being able to shoot fast plays a big role in your DPS. And we're going to be talking about how we're going to pair that with the armor, because you really want to go with some specific armor pairing for that. You'll also notice that this is one of the light bowguns that gets level 3 sticky ammo. Now with the level 2 sticky ammo, you can actually get the recoil down to +3, which is pretty good for a light bowgun, but I've played around with it a lot, and I actually still prefer the very high recoil on level 3 sticky ammo. The reason why this is the best light bowgun for sticky ammo is, once again, just because of its high raw. Basically what you do is you pair it with your Wyvern Blast special ammo, and you just, do explosive damage all day. So sticky ammo 3 and Wyvern Blast is going to be a build that we're going to be talking about as we move along this guide. You also notice it has level 2 poison. I mean, that's nice. You can use it on like Kushala Daora at least. It also has sleep ammo, that's nice as well. That means you can put a monster to sleep one time and then put all your Wyvern Blast down around the monster's head, which is one of the things that I like to do. The exhaust ammo, you get level 2 and level 1, you get a ton of it. I've still to this day not found a reason to use the exhaust ammo. It's not strong enough. They do need to think about buffing it in my opinion. Then moving on, you can see for the elemental ammo types, you do get dragon. So this is not an elementalist bowgun, by the way, because it has an elemental type of dragon. And then it has slicing ammo as well. So that's the last thing this bowgun's going to be good at, is the slice ammo. Surprisingly, even though the shell sticks naturally comes with the spare shot skill, this bowgun has such high raw that it still does slightly more damage than the shell sticks light bowgun. So you're still going to choose the Devil's Madness if you want the strongest slice ammo build. Alright, we're done talking about the base attributes. This is a high attack light bowgun with a lot of negative affinity. And we're done talking about the ammo types. This light bowgun, it kind of has a combination of good spread ammo. It's going to be very good with the sticky ammo just because of its higher raw. Also the Wyvern Blast. And then it's going to have decent slice ammo as well. We're going to be talking about how to use all of that right now. Okay, so like I said in the Karma Light Bowgun video that I just made, I'm going to start going over the cosplays for these weapons because I think some of you guys probably enjoy some fashion, right? And honestly, it's kind of sad, but I don't think the Deviljho armor looks that good. It looks kind of like lumpy, you know what I mean? But let's go ahead and talk about it anyways, because some of you actually may love the armor. You'll notice I focus on getting spread power shots onto the build and 3 levels of ammo up. I feel like that's really important for getting the extra damage onto this build. It's really the most you can do with the Deviljho armor set. And then after that, I just get 2 levels of weakness exploit. I could have put on 2 levels of latent power, but honestly, I feel like latent power is really meant for something like, I don't know, maybe insect glaive, maybe the dual blades, maybe like the bow. It's not really for the light bowguns that don't use stamina at all. And as it turns out, the only thing you really want on this light bowgun is more affinity, and weakness exploit. 2 levels of that is better than 2 more levels of latent power. And that's why we don't finish out latent power. You'll also notice I took attack boost to 4. Now there's 2 reasons for that. The first one is there's no like crit boost on this build. So with no crit boost, having additional affinity is only so advantageous, right? The other thing is with there only being 4 small decoration slots, might as well go for that 5% bonus to affinity with 4 levels of attack boost, right? Rather than 4 levels of the expert jewel, which would have only raised my affinity, but you're not pairing that extra affinity with the crit boost decoration, so I just thought attack boost made more sense here. Alright, and that's pretty straightforward. You get the speed eating skill. I checked to see if any of the armor pieces are better with the alpha, but they're not. You basically want the full beta set. Alright, that's the cosplay build. Let's move on to talking about a no decorations build. Okay, so here's the no decorations build, and the reason I put this together for you guys is because I want people who are really fresh and new to the game to be able to just maybe like farm up some monsters, get their monster parts, and put together a pretty strong build that they can use for a while, right? So in this case, if you do have decorations to fill in there, maybe like Vitality, for example, is great for new players. You can put some Vitality in those slots, and that's going to help you stay alive. What I've put together for you is based entirely on skills that you're going to get from the armor sets. You can see I've focused on a few things. Using the Awakening Charm 2 and Wrath Soul Mail Beta, I'm actually able to get the Ammo Up skill to level 3. I'm also able to get the Spread Power Shot skill onto the build with the Lava Seath Greaves. That's really important as well. That gives you a 10% damage bonus to your spread shots, right? So between those two, you're already doing pretty well. After that, I also get the Special Ammo Boost by combining Xeno'jiiva Headgear Alpha and Xeno'jiiva Spine Alpha. So these each have 1 point of the special ammo boost, and because this is a really high damage light bowgun, the Wyvern Blast is actually not bad on this weapon. So you can run around putting the Wyvern Blast down and getting your spread shots out. This is a spread ammo level 3 build, and that means for the custom mods, go with 2 recoil and 1 close range mod, okay? Alright, the next build, what I'm calling the tier 2 build, it assumes that you have 1 release jewel decoration. That's going to be the ammo up decoration. If you don't have this, maybe you consider going back to the lower tier, right? The tier 1, maybe you go back to that one. Well, so if you have the release jewel, you can go for this build instead. So you'll notice, similar to the previous build, you're going to see that 3 pieces of the Xeno'jiiva Divinity armor set. Now, I didn't explain this earlier, but basically that gives you like maybe like a 20-25% chance of not expending ammo, right? And that's really useful. It basically expands the size of your clip. And that's terrific because the spread ammo level 3 is doing tons of damage, but it's constricted by the size of its clip, right? And so if you could just increase the size of its clip, you're going to substantially increase this output. That's why we're really interested in having 3 pieces of the Xeno'jiiva Divinity armor, and you're going to see that on a lot of the builds. You'll also notice once again that I do go with the Lava Seath Greaves. That's going to be giving you the spread power shots. Oh, I should probably also mention this. If you really don't have that release jewel, you could put the Kulvter Roth helmet there, and that would give you 1 level of the ammo up skill. However, you are giving up 2 levels of weakness exploit for not having the Dragon King eye patch, so I don't know. It's a trade-off. I don't know if it's necessarily better if you don't get to bring the Dragon King eye patch than the previous build we worked with, but I don't know. I'll leave that up to you guys to experiment around with based on what decorations you have if you don't have the release jewel. But yeah, so you could just go with the Kulvtaroth helmet, and that would allow you to have all 3 levels of ammo up, which is what you're going to need for the spread ammo level 3. Other than that, you can see I have 1 might jewel and 1 tenderizer jewel. See, once again, this is kind of based on the idea that maybe you have one of these decorations, but you don't have like 2 of them, you don't have like 3 of them. That's kind of what I'm going here for with the kind of like middle tier builds for people who are still pretty new at the game and these decorations, they're awful trying to unlock them. I mean, I still have trouble unlocking decorations, so I totally get it. All right, let's move on to the next tier. And this is really where we try hard with the best decorations that we can use. So I don't constrict myself by any decorations. Okay, so this is what I call my tier 3 build, and we're not constrained by decorations, so I'm really just building it to be as powerful as possible. Why don't we talk a little bit about the prioritization for this build? Really, it's the combination of the ammo up skill, that's going to give us an extra shot per clip, and then we have the Zenashiva Divinity. That's going to give us like a 20-25% chance of not expending one of our shots, right? That increases the clip as well. And then spread power shots. That's what you've seen me focus on all the previous builds as well, right? That's really important. Now, the big difference here is I've got Weakness Exploit to level 3. I've got 2 levels of crit boost, and I've got 5 levels of crit eye. So I'm trying to get as much crit damage in as well on this build, and that's really why it's going to stand out from the previous 2 in terms of damage. And yes, this does terrific damage. However, the problem with this build, in my opinion, is that it still doesn't really compete with the Glutton Heavy Bowgun. I mean, I understand they're different weapon classes, right? But it's really, if you can learn to be good at a light bowgun, it's really not that big of a stretch to be good at a heavy bowgun, especially now that the heavy bowguns have access to evade extender with the Empress Crown. It's really not that big of a difference in my opinion. So this is a very strong spread ammo build, and if you like light bowguns, this is going to be your shotgun build for the light bowguns right here. Now why don't we go ahead, I have some other builds I want to show you guys real fast. Okay, so this is my sticky ammo build, and basically what I have going on here is, of course, I have the ammo up, and I have Zenashiva Divinity once again, right? But this time, for the ammo specific skill, we've got 2 levels of Slugger. That's going to help KO the monster easier. I also have 3 levels of Artillery, and this is what gives the sticky ammo a bit more of its damage, because sticky ammo doesn't work like other ammo types. Having more attack doesn't really make it much stronger. It does, but it very slowly, right? It doesn't scale well with damage, right? So, and then the other thing you'll probably notice on the build, I have 3 levels of Focus and 2 levels of Special Ammo Boost. Basically what I'm doing is I'm spamming the Wyvern Blast, which is very highly damaging on the Devil's Madness, and I'm also spamming the Sticky Ammo level 3, which is very damaging on the Devil's Madness, right? Like no other light bowgun does as much damage per sticky shot than Devil's Madness. Devil's Madness, if you didn't know this, sticky ammo totally ignores affinity. So the fact that Devil's Madness is a high raw, high negative affinity gun, it's pretty much, it kind of screams at you that you should be looking at your sticky ammo builds, right? Or explosive ammo builds. Light bowguns only have Wyvern Blast and they only have sticky ammo. So yeah, this is a terrific build. I had a lot of fun with it, despite the fact that you have very heavy recoil on the sticky ammo. It's really not that bad. Here's the deal. It's not going to beat the Dark Devourer, which, by the way, if you want to know, one of the best bowguns in the entire game is the Dark Devourer. I'm a big advocate for it, and I do have a guide for it if you're curious about that. But yeah, you know, if you just prefer light bowguns, you probably do this for sticky ammo, right? The other thing I need to point out to you is that you'll use 3 reload assist custom mods. This is going to bring your reload speed down on the sticky ammo 3 so that you can reload it pretty quickly. Also, you notice, like I said, negative affinity does not matter here. So if you want, you can augment it one of 2 ways. You can go double attack to get a tiny amount more damage on your attacks, which really doesn't matter to me. I would probably do this though. I'd probably go double recovery or 1 recovery augmentation and 1 small decoration augmentation, but that's up to you. Alright, and for my last build, we're going to be taking a look at a slice ammo build. So as it turns out, this is still the best slice ammo build, even with the introduction of the Shell Sticks Light Bowgun. And this is just because Devil's Madness has such high raw. That's it, just has really high attack. What's interesting about the Shell Sticks Light Bowgun is that it automatically comes with the Zenashiva Divinity skill, which means you get to take better armor sets, right? You get to take better pieces of armor. But this doesn't care about that. You just put on your 3 pieces of Zenashiva Divinity, right? Get that spare shot skill anyways, and you're still able to build, as you can see, Weakness Exploit 3, crit boost 3, and 5 levels of crit eye, right? Amongst that, I also have the ammo up skill. And it's funny, it performs just about the same as the Shell Sticks light bowgun, except it deals a teensy-weensy more damage. So if you're going to build a light bowgun, and by the way, you might as well build the Shell Sticks, it's a really good light bowgun. Well, you're definitely going to build the Devil's Madness if you like light bowguns, and in that case, you've also built a slice ammo build. Now, that comes with an asterisk to it, to a little side note. I don't think slice ammo is that good. I think when Capcom nerfed the slice ammo, they got a little too zealous, so I don't really recommend using it. If you want to use an ammo type that's easy to spam and doesn't really require a lot of accuracy or careful management of the crit range, right? If you don't want to, if you just want to spam something, go for that sticky ammo build I showed you earlier. It'll give your team KOs, which is extremely valuable for your team, and it won't deal damage based on where you hit the monster on the body. See, if you're going to use the slice ammo, it looks like it's easy, but it turns out you have to hit the monster's weak spot or you lose a ton of your damage. The sticky ammo never loses a ton of its damage, and it gives you a status ailment on the monster, right? So I strongly recommend moving toward the sticky ammo build with the Wyvern Blast, rather than the slice ammo build, which I've tested over and over again in fights. I mean, there's some fights where you can use the slice ammo and it's decent. Like if you're fighting Nergigante by yourself, you can use the slice ammo and it's going to hit his wings really nice and it's going to break his horns. And you can then move in when he's knocked over with your spread ammo and kind of mix them together. But that's about it, honestly. I've heard about people talk about slice ammo post-nerf like they love it. It's terrible, guys. I'm somebody who uses bowguns basically every single day. I use all the ammo types, and I think that Capcom should actually buff the slice ammo a little bit so that it's usable again. I think it's definitely worse than the normal ammo. Normal ammo gets that extra boost of damage from the force shot, and I think normal ammo needs a buff. So those are my feelings, my thoughts on the slice ammo. Normal ammo's just shy of being really good, and the slice ammo is basically bad. I wouldn't use slice ammo, but if you were going to use slice ammo because you just have to cut off that monster's tail, or of course you want to try it for yourself, this is the build I would use. And I hope you guys have the decorations in order to use it. It's really not that bad. I mean, if you just have the one release jewel, you don't have to have the second crit jewel. You could put something like maximum might in there. And yeah, so that's my slice ammo build, and that is all the builds I have to show you today. I did try out extensively a pierce ammo build, but guess what? It wasn't as good at pierce as the Shell Sticks light bowgun. So if you want a better pierce light bowgun, you're going to have to build the new Lunastra Sticks light bowgun, right? And with all that being said about the builds, why don't we move on to talking a little bit about how to use this weapon in a fight. So basically this is a spread ammo light bowgun. That means for your gear, you're really interested in bringing the impact mantle. I would say you should also be interested in bringing either the affinity booster or the evasion mantle. It's really up to you, but if you think about it, if you're going to be on a team, might as well bring the affinity booster. That's going to help everyone else who has negative affinity, or just anyone who's dealing crit damage, right? So I bring the affinity booster and I bring the impact mantle, and those together do really well with Devil's Madness. Now, when it comes to using this weapon spread ammo, it's just like every other bowgun that uses spread ammo. You got to get right up close to the enemy. Always be careful. Let the monster attack first and then punish his attack. That's really all it is, right? Like if you don't want to die while using spread, you don't just run up and start shooting. You wait for the monster to attack, dodge that attack, and then once he's on his recovery frames from his attack, that's when you move in and you start shooting him. And if you just play with a method like that, you really don't die that often. If you do, it's usually because they have some stupidly overpowered move that's too difficult to dodge, right? And that I'm thinking specifically of Lunastra. Lunastra is ridiculous. Right? And then of course you've got your impact mantle, which you can start thinking about using your impact mantle when you're about 3/4 of the way through the fight, because you can use that impact mantle to stop the monster from getting away early, right? Like they're going to start limping back to their nest, you shoot them in the face while you're wearing the impact mantle, you're going to get that good flinch, right? That flinch is going to stop them from retreating. That's especially useful against a monster maybe like Kieran, for example, because you can't flash Kieran. So if you can cause Kieran to flinch with the impact mantle before he escapes, that's great, right? You get to keep fighting him before he goes all the way off to his nest. Alright, that's everything I have to say about the Devil's Madness. For the tier rating, I think I'm going to be putting it in the A+ tier. I think it's a very strong weapon. It trivializes fights, right? I just don't think it's in the S tier. I don't think it's like a meta setter for all of the weapon classes by any means. I think it borders S- tier. It's very close to S-, but I just don't think it crosses into that line of being OP, you know, like, because using the spread ammo actually takes skill. It's not just a powerful ammo type, it actually takes skill. Whereas, like, if you're using, like, Dark Devourer, and you're just spamming sticky ammo 3 on the monster, that doesn't take any skill. Same with, the cluster bombs. That takes, like, no skill at all, and that's why I put Dark Devourer, like, in the S tier, because it's not just strong and fast, it's easy. When you're using Deviljho's light bowgun, you know, it's pretty fast as well, but it's not easy. You actually have to know what you're doing. Alright, well, I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.